What is that statue? Why am I smiling? And where are we racing to? Well, let me answer that first question whilst we wait for the starters' orders. We're at the 54th edition of the Hermannslauf. What is that, you might ask? Well, there was this bloke called Herman or Herman the German, and the abridged version of his pretty interesting life is that he fought off the Romans and protected the German tribes. In the 1870s, they erected this statue to him on the spot that at one point was believed to be the site of the battle, but we now know it most definitely wasn't. Just don't mention that fact to any of the locals. Anyway, as we get underway, that's who this race is named after, and that statue you saw at the beginning is Herman the German himself. Now, I was in the first wave of this race, so I was able to start just a couple of rows from the front, but that doesn't prevent me from getting bogged down by the traffic as I tried to get up to speed. And the first hurdle we have is this tight left-hander, which I hug close, but just end up running off the path and probably making things more difficult for myself. You can see there's quite a few different paces being set as I try to sneak through on the left, but as it's a bit of downhill, I'm just opening up my legs and trying to let gravity do the work. Pretty smart, I thought, as I cruise along at a pace faster than I can run a flat 5k. And therein lies my first mistake, because this isn't a 5k and it most certainly isn't flat. This is a 31.1 kilometer trail race with over 500 meters of elevation, almost 200 steps and gradients of over 20%. I should most certainly not have been doing my 5k pace, even if it was on a downhill section. And by 4k in, I still hadn't realised this was a mistake. Still running along at sub 4 minute pace, and now we've moved on to sand, which I tried to mitigate the effects of by hugging the sides of the paths. At the beginning of the section, I saw 3 people dart off to the left, and I just assumed they'd taken a wrong turn. But as you can just about make them out in the top left of the screen, they've chosen a path that, whilst a little windier, didn't have any sand. I was desperately looking around for any opportunity to join. I didn't want to spend a second longer than I needed to on the sand, so once this crossroads popped up, I took my chance. Was it the right choice? I mean, I think so, although the bloke I was sitting behind on the sandy path hasn't lost any ground to me, so maybe not. Whilst today is mostly about having fun, I would like to get a good time, which I reckon is around 2 hours 15 minutes. This would put me in the top 100 finishers in a field of around 8,000. But if I keep this pace up, I'll be looking at closer to a 2-hour finish, although that would require me to run at around my half marathon PB pace, and I still have all the climbing to come. Of the 31.1 kilometers, 13.6 of them are uphill, with an average gradient of around 5%. And the first big challenge comes at 6k where we ascend the Ehrberg. And as you can see, I am not having a good time. All those people I'd cruised past at the start are now picking me off as my pace finally drops, even if my heart rate is now at a level that I'd only expect to see at the pointy end of a 5k. But what goes up must come down, and I've clearly not learnt my lesson as I once again open my legs up and fly down the other side of the Ehrberg at a sub 3:30 pace. You can hear me try and control my breathing a little, but if I'd have just concentrated on my pace a little more, that may well have been a better choice. I'm taking this moment of respite to get my first gel down, as I know I'm going to pass a water station in a moment too. I grab a water bottle from my partner as we emerge onto the Panzerringbrücke, a bridge usually reserved for tanks, as they access the military base we'll run past in a moment. It's an incredible moment coming out of the woods and into such a wall of noise, which lasts the best part of a kilometre before we head back into the calm of the forest with only our footsteps and birdsong providing the music. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you can see me take on more challenges like this, and comment below if you have any races you think I should try next. Coming up to our second water stop, we meet some traffic, which now seems to be the best way to control my downhill pace. It was a hot day, so I was trying to take on as much fluid as possible, and I dislike drinking from cups at the best of times, and even less enjoyable on trails and sand. But by the moans and gargles, if I'm honest, coming from the other competitors, I am not alone. Almost halfway through and things were starting to get tough. This climb, the Kammweg Climb, is just over 500 meters long, but averages over 13%. I quickly dropped the others I've been running with up until this point and passed another runner who's already decided to walk. I'm not sure I've ever been so out of breath whilst traveling so slowly. Just listen to my breathing. Now it seems as good a time as any to answer the second question I posed. Where are we heading? Well, technically, the race finishes in a town called Bielefeld, but thanks to an obscure meme from 1994, there's a whole conspiracy theory that this city doesn't actually exist. I'll let you explore that rabbit hole yourself, and I'll just hope that I can find the finish line to cross. Coming through Erlinghausen, the most populated town on the course, and the energy is electric. I'm still on pace for my goal of 2:15, but I'm starting to feel it in my legs. I'm trying to keep the required average of 4:20 where I can, and just hope that I can make up for the uphill on the descents. I throw my empty water bottle in a bin and like to offer some small words of advice to spectators. Don't do what that lady was doing. Don't stand right behind the bins. So many runners either don't finish all their water or miss the bin entirely. Standing so close is just asking for trouble. Then again, it was a hot day, so maybe she needed some cooling down. And we're on to our first set of stairs, the Lämershagener treppen. I know the camera angle hasn't been great for this race, but most of that's just because running up such steep slopes, my head's been down too much. But a bigger problem we have here is traffic. There's a hiking event that sets off 3 hours before the runners, and we're starting to run into the bulk of these walkers now. That, coupled with slower runners and the fact that the path is barely wide enough for 2 people, and I'm glad when I make it to the top. Not that the immediate path is much better. Final set of steps and I am dying. At the top of this incline, it'll be basically 5k downhill to the finish line. The crowd are really pulling me through this now, but my breathing is painfully laboured. I felt so winded and I can't quite explain why. And just when I need it most, I hear my partner call out to me. I was genuinely not expecting to see her at this point, but gratefully take a bottle and immediately stumble. Multitasking this late into the race is not something I'm capable of. And don't worry, race fans, we have a second angle for your enjoyment. Finally into the final few hundred meters. The pace is back to a silly speed, but I can leave all my energy out there on the course. My breathing is uncomfortable, my legs feel heavy, but I managed to crack a smile for the cameras and cross the line. My final time, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 30 seconds, which puts my average pace at 4:38 minutes per kilometre. Did I enjoy it? I think so, although my smile on the starting line was definitely that of a man who hadn't really fully considered what he'd signed up for. I'll leave you with my insightful thoughts as I crossed the line. And my tentative tiptoeing back to the car as my legs begin to seize up.